That's good. Okay. Yes, I see people there. Hello, everybody. Let me see. I'm making sure I'm seeing myself on LinkedIn here. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sudha Live. I'm Sudha Jamte, and thank you for joining me. I'm joining here from California, Silicon Valley, and it is 6:30 in the evening on Friday. And it's been a long week for us with the long weekend. And so I'm going to keep this short since some of you are traveling or coming back from travel. And for those of you, because this is morning time in Asia, for joining me from your weekend, I really, really appreciate this. This means a lot. So I try to keep my cadence. And I did this at 6:30 instead of 6 because I ran into some technical issues with Restream. So hopefully we'll stick to our 6 o'clock going forward. And I couldn't miss today because I have such an exciting announcement to make. And I have a special guest who's going to join me when I make that announcement in a couple of minutes. So for those of you who are new or coming back and joining me later, Sudha Live is where I share AI opportunities. We have Weekly Wednesday, which is my student alums coming together called Weekly Ved as a global speaker series. We talk about AI, autonomous vehicles, IoT, anything in the futuristic technology realm. We try to go deeper, and my specialty is to go in the gap between high-level business considerations and the depth of technology. And anybody can do this. You don't have to just be a technologist. You don't have to just be a business person. That sweet spot is where innovation can happen. And I've been focused a lot on ethical AI since I teach AI ethics for 4 different master's programs at Barcelona Technology School. And this week was super exciting for me because Barcelona Technology School's master's programs comes to an end around this time, and they're getting ready for their graduation in a week. And the master's in product management was a new program. I was lucky to teach AI ethics for that group too. So I taught responsible AI to that batch. And they came in and did their demo day. So all year long, they pick a project, work with industry, come up with some idea that is real, not just like a made up capstone project. And they work towards it. And then, they get to present it to a team of juries. And I was invited back to BTS to be on the jury team. So it was super exciting to see the amazing, amazing ideas. So that was the beginning of my week. And the other thing that happened this week was it kind of got me into that Europe mode early morning in my time. I was in Europe. And then I've been talking to you about this event in UK about the future of connected vehicles. I used to teach autonomous vehicle business. I used to teach IoT business at Stanford Continuing Studies. Now I teach artificial intelligence bootcamp for product and business managers. So my audience typically are product managers. And then product managers are the CEO of the customer. So they work with everybody else. And I see that the way AI is built is bringing everybody together. So I have a mix of people in all my classes, in all my activities. And so at the BTS, while I was doing the AI ethics courses, I started adding research. So I kind of flip between, teaching one semester, and then I'll take off and do research one semester. And you'll see like my live streams continue on. So I keep the cadence, but relatively my outbound activities are low. So I was on that. So I went back to speak, and I did this conversation, a presentation about digital pedestrians conversation with digital vehicle. So usually I've been talking about autonomous vehicles. I've been talking about data in autonomous vehicles, AI in autonomous vehicles, or digital twins in connected and autonomous vehicles, or value creation from the data. So it's been very data heavy and focused on the vehicle itself. So now what I decided to do is I've been doing a lot of work on inclusive AI, a lot of research in that space. And so I decided that and I've started out, long ago to figure out how the pedestrian in the road will communicate with the vehicle. Or my book, 2030 Driverless World, focuses on the futuristic world where the autonomous vehicle is there, mainstream, but it coexists with regular vehicles and the pedestrian. So I'm always interested in this interface, but I brought it back. And so let me share, because I have a habit of posting all my content and sharing things so that if you are not there, you get to check it out or be part of that, my journey as I'm sharing things. So I posted this on LinkedIn as I went to speak Thursday morning or Thursday evening UK time in this conference. And it was, I think they keep doing multiple sessions on the future of technology. And I was honored to be in the company of these amazing people. And so I shared, when I go to a conference, when I speak, I just don't just go on stage, speak and go away. It's called the Connected World Series, and they focused on space, terrestrial, and IoT connection. So they had this thing about space and aircraft related autonomous and connected vehicles. They had about road, that's where I come in. And then we had who was it? Scott McCormick from Michigan was speaking before me on this topic, but with a very different perspective on challenges with autonomous vehicles and connected vehicles. And we had, and then, we had so many different speakers. So I shared a bunch of this. And if you were there, you would have gotten, sense of it. And so I wanted to give you that. And so my talk was about the digital pedestrian conversation with digital transportation. So let me quickly go through this. So you can download this, you can look at that, that's all fine. But mainly my focus was, when I say pedestrian, digital pedestrian, the way the activity happens today is using AI. And since I'm working on AI, and I'm all for, bringing information and resources related to AI. That's why I'm talking to here at Sudha Live, talking about AI opportunities every single week. So I think I have the link for this, and SlideShare is not letting me share that. Let me find that. So there is a very exciting set of papers. There is one called Pi. The model is called Pi. And there is another from Stanford. Let me find the Stanford one. Let me go back and share my screen. This is the paper I showed from Stanford called Spatio-Temporal Relationship Reasoning for Pedestrian Intent Prediction. And you have the video. I love how they've done this, where they've shown the video, they've shown the paper, they've given the abstract, they show the people, and they've kept the code and the data set. So you can actually go look at all of this, play with this, and get a sense of it. So as you can see from this quick preview of the video, the whole video is on YouTube. If you go to stip.stanford.edu, it basically shows see how the autonomous vehicle is using computer vision, using all the cameras and all the different sensors, trying to identify objects on the road. And within that, there are all kinds of things: traffic lights, lanes, shrubbery, other vehicles coming with their trajectory towards us or against us or moving. It shows the velocity and it predicts the intent of the vehicle, but it can recognize people. And this research is about predicting the intent of the pedestrian. Is the pedestrian just standing and they will not cross now, and they are at the pedestrian crossing? Maybe they will cross in 1 second, and this person is actively in the middle of the road and their feet is up here, so they look like they are crossing actively. So it is basically showing the cross intention. The crossing intention is what this particular thing is about. So again, it's a machine learning model, and if you use them, here's your citation and the like. So that's the beginning. Of course, I talk about voice AI and voice in the vehicle. And Scott, who went before me, reminded that the majority of vehicles that are built today do not have some kind of audio sensors to receive audio. So, I remember when the AV discussion, a couple years back, was happening in the US Congress, one of our Congress people was asking, I believe, Ford executives, there's a bunch of AV companies who were there, and this person asked, what will the vehicle do? What will the autonomous vehicle do if I just talk to it or say something to it, shout at it, ask it a question? And the executive just said, no, it won't do anything. And this has happened for real with an unfortunate Uber accident where the car was reversing, and there was a fire truck reversing and the car was going in front, and people were shouting, asking the car to stop, and the car can't listen. So I have a big fascination for voice and talking to the vehicle, but that technology doesn't exist today, especially the receiving and audio technology doesn't exist in the vehicle also was a reminder. But I talk about voice AI in the vehicle, and let me show one more thing. So we have done a research, is this published research about introducing inclusive construct label centering approach for model performance enhancement in autonomous vehicles. It's a mouthful. Essentially, I've been working with my students, Yash, who hosts the Weekly Wednesday, and Suresh Lokaya, as independent research. And I do a bunch of these as independent research, and sometimes my students join me, which is a blessing. I find that, that they choose to include me in their amazing journey. So we are focusing on, is the inside of the autonomous vehicle, is it inclusive? Is the data inclusive? Is the camera data inclusive? And how do we, it's not just about complaining that it's not inclusive, but how do we improve it? So we provided a label-centric approach, which is built on Susanna Raj's class that we took at Business School of AI about inclusive construct. So that's what this paper, it's public. If you want to take a look at it, it's there. Okay, so I shared all this. This is how you get the pedestrian to interact with the vehicle. And again, as I do with all my talks and writing and teaching, is I try to find gaps for innovation so that you can go in and go do your thing. And you can pivot your career into this, or if you're working in that space, you come in and you can build something, or create a new business model around something that exists, but in a way to take us forward. And I have this vision of where we are going because I'm a technology futurist, but I'm looking to my students to go build the stuff to make it happen. Okay, so that was the second piece that happened this week. And the third thing, let me see. I have two more things, but first I want to get to the interesting, amazing announcement that I can't delay. So I've been talking about inclusive AI and teaching that, and in the AI ethics class, and how to build responsible AI, mostly to product manager type people, right? So I realized that a lot of language research is done, and I've spoken a little bit about it, language AI, and I've taught some classes about the new foundation models of GPT-3. Right here, I told you about OPT-3, which is from Meta, which is like GPT-3 but without the APIs. So it looks like there's a handful of tech companies who are building the language AI models, the ones you use in chatbots or language translation, general knowledge management in companies, understanding NLP or natural language processing. But it is built by a handful of companies, primarily Western companies, and with a very English-centered approach. So they started with English to Spanish translation, English to German translation, English to French translation, and I believe there are 7,000 plus languages in the world, and about 100 of them are available in this machine translation world. But 7 or 6 language is all that is built with translation, feeding that to the AI as training data to build the foundation models. But after that, what has happened is they've taken that and said, okay, now let's feed more just data for another language, and let the AI use deep learning and figure out, based on its understanding, and of understanding of English or the primary language it knows. So it's like saying, I've learned English as my first language at school, and now I'm trying to learn Spanish on Duolingo, and I am actually learning Spanish on Duolingo. So the one of the challenges I face is, if I natively get immersion, if I sit in Spain and people are talking to me and it's survival and I will learn in a different way. Whereas if I try to learn as another language, my mind goes to translating. And one big thing is differences between English and Spanish is, English we have, we have like neutral gender for inanimate objects, whereas in Spanish and many Latin derived languages, the objects are gendered. And so when I learn a new word, I need to know whether it is male or female, which is very hard for me. I don't want to criticize it, because there are languages like that. I know even in Indian languages, Hindi is like that, and that's the national language of India. And I have a hard time. I understand the language, but I still make a mistake on whether it is something is a male or female, and table is supposed to be male and chair is supposed to be female. That's how it is. And so and that is just one nuance of difference between two languages I'm talking about. There are cliques, there are various differences between languages, and that's the beauty of it, right? And then language is something by which people communicate with each other. And they have historically, we get poetry and our learnings and what is good and bad. Can we eat this berry? Can we not? Can we not jump off a cliff? And everything that's been taught to us has been across generation has been taught by language. And then where our dreams and hopes is all again communicated with each other with language. And we go from one culture to another. How we communicate with each other is language. And so language models, the first thing that my opinion, and I'm sure many people have expressed this elsewhere, is you cannot have people, a small set of people who speak one set of languages, build language translation for all the languages in the world, because then they're going to miss out on anything that is not native to their language. The second thing is, when you do language translation as machine translation, it takes it as semantics and syntax, and you look at words when we look at an algorithm or a model, it is actually bundling a group of words and making a prediction of what the next word would be. So when you look at your auto correct, or when when we're using language translation, you can just start typing on your phone, and you will see the AI come to work, and it is guessing what's the next best word you're going to type. Now it's funny, when I do Duolingo and I've added a Spanish keyword, and the word for go is ir in Spanish, my keyword has all English letters, and then it has ir for enter. And it's kind of mixed up. So when I type something, it thinks I'm doing Spanish. Sometimes I'm doing English, and vice versa. And it's just two languages. And that's how the AI is going to think in its brain. So we need people everywhere who are speaking their languages. Everybody who's sitting in their local areas, speaking their language, working on problem solving, even building AI for their own community, are not aware of everything else in the world. Everybody has their center, and then from there, they're trying to problem solve. So why am I saying all this as part of my announcement? So I am lucky to join amazing 3 other women who are going to work with me on this new concept called the Global South in AI. It is a meetup. It's a social affinity group. And so we proposed this concept to NeurIPS, which is a top AI research conference, and we got accepted. Thank you. And for those of you who are there commenting and on LinkedIn, I thank you so much. I will come back and answer your comments. And if I miss it, I will come back later. Otherwise, all the links that I'm sharing here, I will put it on in my newsletter, which is bit.ly/Jamte newsletter. And I've shared that so many times, so I'm not going to go back and share that link again. So you'll find that there. So if you're asking any questions or comments, so I'm happy to answer that. But thank you for your wishes. So let me share what is Global South in AI. Let me show you the site. And I have our web designer who built that site right here with us. So she can answer some questions also. Okay. So you're seeing the site. So you go to globalsouthinai.org and it brings you here. It is a nonprofit. It is an affinity group at NeurIPS. Many of you ask me, oh, you're doing too many things. Yes, I do too many things. That's how my brain is wired. So I teach at multiple places. I host classes at Business School of AI. And then periodically I come back and I do, events that are global events where I have a calling to bring diversity and make the connection. So like I do the IoT Day event once a year, or I do International Women's Day. And so like that, this is Global South in AI. And we are lucky we are going to be at NeurIPS in December. NeurIPS is at New Orleans in US this year from November 26th to December 4th. I believe we will have two opportunities, one as a hybrid one, end of November, and I believe it is December 2nd. I'm waiting to confirm that date, where we will have our live session, the Global South in AI, NeurIPS. So what does that mean? We are introducing a call for paper, and this is done with academic rigor. So it is going to be double-blind submissions, and let me call in Pariya, who is joining us. Let me get out of this for a minute. Let me bring in Pariya. Hello, Pariya. Are you able to join?
Yes, I'm able to.
Okay, Pariya Sarin, introduce yourself. Tell the world who you are.
Hello, my name is Maria, and I'm a high school student in the Bay Area, and I'm passionate about computer science. I'm going to 12th grade this year, and I got this amazing opportunity to help Sudha with this event, and specifically the web development aspect of it. So yeah, the questions.
Yes. Thank you, Pariya. And some of you might remember that Pariya was here for IoT Day, and especially the 25 in 24 in 25. I don't know why I said 25. 24 hours, right? So we said 24 in 24, and we had 24 women come in every hour and talk to us about an amazing topic. And Pariya was behind the scene building the website and coordinating. So this time, before we launch and get started, I wanted to make sure that I bring Pariya to the forefront to say a big thank you. Thank you, Pariya, for all your hard work and getting me organized and structured, because this is a huge undertaking. This is, a part of an academic conference, and we are doing, for the first time, this is my first experience doing a call for paper. And I talk a lot about, privacy and GDPR. So I didn't want the hassle of collecting, if people submit abstracts, I didn't want the hassle of taking your personal information, how to keep it equitable and all that stuff. So we were lucky that Susanna Raj has joined us. So I'm going to go back, share our screen, Pariya. Okay. So I'm back at globalsouthinai.org, where the call for paper is opening just now. You're the lucky one to see it first. And we'll talk about the paper in a minute. And this is the amazing team. Here is Pariya, that's me, Susanna Raj, who is joining us. And here is Yash, our weekly wed host, who's going to be helping organize this too. So we are going to be at NeurIPS, and our hope is as we work with the amazing set of people who are going to make the submissions, my promise is to bring people who have not published. AI, language AI models, language AI in various dimensions, and you have research idea, but you've never published a research. We are going to make sure that we teach you how to build a poster, how to build a paper, what is involved in making that happen, and then guide you to the poster development process. And our promise to NeurIPS is we will bring 5 posters with 5 teams. And we are going to put together one poster from our learning on how to create collaboration between different language AI groups across the world. So I know of groups in Africa. I've spoken about my student Aisha Tugudape, who introduced me to Hausa language, and Hausa language is more a spoken language. So there is more spoken content that is transferred generation to generation with songs and stuff. And when you get AI and you try to go get data to feed it, it has very little data because you don't have historically written down prose like you have in some other languages. So different languages have different challenges. Like that, there are groups in India who are creating Indic BERT and Indic NLP. There are groups in Latinx in AI, which is focused on Latin America in Spanish primarily. Tiago Felipe, who was here at Weekly Wednesday, works in Brazil, and he was talking about Brazilian Portuguese and the changes that is happening in the language today. I'm learning so much about various different language. I'm not even of a linguistic background. I'm a computer science background, worked on product management and analytics, always in technology industry. So it's very fascinating for me that people in tech are building this just like me, at the background like me, but then there's a whole world of linguistics and this field is called computational linguistics, and they are trying to make this happen. So we are so lucky to be part of this. So this is the team, and we've divided up different things. So coming back to the call for paper, Susanna Raj is helping us because she's a published researcher, published at NeurIPS in the past. And so she's guiding us on setting the highest bar to make this call for paper a double-blind, peer-reviewed call and acceptance. So Pariya, can you answer some questions? So if people are looking at this and they're saying Global South and I have never heard of it, I've given them enough of what that is. And we want to be inclusive of everybody. So talk to us if you want to submit here, you read this and you say, I'm working on a Slavic language, and does that fit the mold? We are not going to reject anybody for bringing a different language. We are going to set the high bar on what the call for paper should be in terms of the right content in an abstract and what could develop into a research, whether you're ready for that in what you're showing us in your research, and pick the submissions up, and then we give the decision on accepting the abstracts. And my hope is 5, and if you surprise me and 15 people come with amazing abstracts, and I can guide you to build the posters, and we can take 15 of the posters. I don't think NeurIPS has any limit on how many we can submit. Maybe we'll need more time, and I'll go back to them. But my goal is to do this right and at least get 5 different posters from people or teams who have not published, to take them to NeurIPS to increase the diversity, to get the conversation going on doing language models with local knowledge from 5 different regions, 5 different Global South regions is my aspiration now. But talk to me if you have a language model or a data or voice in a different language, and if that fits the mold, that's great. Okay, so what are the dates? Pariya, can you tell us, what does this call for paper mean in terms of, where can people submit? So they see the site, where can they submit? Okay, I'll let Pariya talk, and I'm going to go make my vacuum cleaner go quiet for a minute. Here, Pariya.
Yes, so the website has 2 buttons. So you can press on the top, there's the button for call for paper. Yeah. And both of these buttons direct you straight to the website where we're hosting this.
Sorry. So this is the call for paper at the top, or submit abstract at the bottom.
Yeah.
Both of them will take us to an external site. Shall I do that right now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Pariya. Back to you.
So yeah, it takes us to OpenReview. And then you have to create an account on OpenReview, and then submit. And then back to the main website.
Okay. Let me get out.
Or I can go look at it. So either way is fine. So it should be the proposals we accept within at least one of the 3 tracks of voice, data, and models. Yeah. And the abstract should describe the problem, the proposed solution, research method and design, and challenges within the problem, and describe rather than defend. And then, as Sudha mentioned, we'll accept any language. And then submissions open July 8th.
Hold on for a minute. So the submission can be in a different language. It doesn't have to be in English. We will help with the translation, right? If somebody is working on a language. So that was one of the things I exuberantly started. Hey, we will bring people from, maybe we'll get 2 posters from Latin America, 2 from Asia, and 2 from Africa. And then as I started talking to different groups, even before we submitted this to global, to NeurIPS, I realized that we need a common language. Sometimes English is a common language, and it might not be in that case, in some cases. And so if you are watching this or you hear about this and you come to globalsouthinai.org and you want to submit and go to NeurIPS and have something amazing to share, and if your language is not English, it doesn't matter. The whole idea is we want to get this to a place where we can have a global conversation. We will help you figure out the translation of your work, so that we can submit to NeurIPS and bring you there. Okay. And I have a question about this. So the abstract, this gives the description on what the abstract should be. So the abstract is defining what's the problem or what is the solution, how this person or team is going about researching and designing, and their major findings. So this point that they should describe the problem and the solution and not defend the plant paper or poster. So we are not going to, and it's not me, we have topic chairs and who are peer reviewing these papers, and it's double blind. So, I wouldn't know who they are, you wouldn't know who they are, but they are going to, and they won't know who you are. So it's double blind, truly based on the merit of the abstract that is submitting. So you don't have to defend the paper or the poster. That's very, very important, because I've seen that when sometimes people who have not done research go and say, but I need to say why this is the right thing. You went about solving the problem in a certain way and you got some results, and you're attempting to solve a problem that you think exists out there. Show it, present it. So going back to the example of Aishatu's Budapest Hausa language problem, she came to my class and said Hausa language is the 7th most spoken language in the world. It is not included in Google Translate. I believe now it's included, but it is done in a very different way. So it's not as accurate as it could be, because it was not built with the data set that they've done with the first 7 languages. But when she did this 2 years back, Aisha, I'm going to take that as an example. So Aisha too could submit something saying, hey, I want to build language translation, NLP, maybe a GPT-3 or a BERT or NLP model, or a whole new transformer model for NLP. And she could say, my challenge is I'm not getting enough data. And this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm solving for it. And she could come and present a poster. And our aspiration is, there are people in the world who are working, though we are seeing very English-centric and 7 languages front-ended, there are hundreds and hundreds of researchers who publish things with an open mind, as researchers connecting with each other around the globe, and post things in an open GitHub or a public domain, who are willing to collaborate. So my hope is, by bringing this set of people to NeurIPS, we're going to connect them to these other language AI researchers who could help them enhance their work and maybe solve the problem that you're running into. So if you have an issue you're running into, it is okay, put that in the abstract. That's my summary. Okay, should we talk about the dates, or we talk about the three tracks?
So I just briefly mentioned the 3 tracks, but we can go more in depth.
Okay, yeah, okay. So again, like when I was thinking about language models and coming from where I'm coming from in Silicon Valley, I was thinking of model. And then and I work on voice AI, and I have some projects in that realm to make voice AI inclusive. It's one of my passions. And I realized that, when we talk about language AI, it essentially, we'll have to cover all 3 tracks to be more inclusive of what's out there to make it happen. So like this case of Aishatu's working on data, there are people who are working to decolonize data. There are people who are trying to make the data more inclusive, to make the data work for a certain language, for a certain use case or an application. Say, finance risk models are built using the risk data set from the Western world. And so if you try to see what is, we had Carolina Guzman come and talk to us on IoT Day about how she comes from Colombia and and from banking industry, from finance, and how to evaluate whether a person is risk-worthy or not to give loans. The AI models from the Western world do not work for Colombia. and she wants to build the data set for it. And that is one of her calling. So you could be working on something like that in a different language or a different world in one of the global south countries. So that could be your data, working on voice, taking voice. Tejumade Afunja has come talk to us about her work on voice, coming from Nigeria. She's a researcher in Germany now, and she wanted voice from AI to understand her accent and present it to her world, and that became the calling for her research. So, or what I keep talking about, Google Voice and Alexa, and there is something called Hundify that brings voice to autonomous vehicles. There's a lot of voice models, and they have to be more inclusive of all accents, of cultures, and there's so many nuances in voice. So it could be why. So you can submit an abstract in one of these tracks. It could be for voice, it could be for data, or it could be BERT or GPT or some new model you're building for language AI. And if you decide that you want to do two of them, you just make two submissions. Suppose you're working on voice on one and you're working on data as another idea, submit as two different abstracts. We're not restricting the same people because we don't know who's submitting. It's all double blind. So go for it. So that's the call, and we've opened it today. And Pariya, let's talk about the dates. So what's the deadline? What's the timing of this? NeurIPS is happening in December. We are not waiting till December because we want to get a quality product and be ready before that. So the call opens now. And what's the deadline? Talk to us about it.
Deadline is August 11th. And then you'll get the acceptance notification August 15th. And then the poster deadline submission is October 15th. And if you're accepted and want to withdraw, then that is by September 1st.
Okay. Thank you, Pariya. So that means from now on till August 11th, we are going to have almost a month's time to submit an abstract, which is just 250 words, but it has a lot of information on the problem and the solution, your method, your challenges, and where you are. So it's just a blurb. Submit that. We'll help you build that into a poster. So when I say we'll help you, what I'm doing is typically when you have a call for paper, you will have a deadline for submitting an abstract. You will have a deadline for submitting the poster or the paper. And if you notice, we are saying poster. We are not asking for the paper. If you have a poster, typically you have to build a paper to build out a poster, or you can start with the poster and you can then plan to develop the paper. So we are basically saying, give us the poster, submit it in open review, and for the accepted papers, you will be doing that by the 15th. But the promise to help you between that, let me talk a little bit about that. So what I would urge you to submit your abstract starting today, tomorrow, day after, whenever you're ready, well before August 11th. And what we will do is we will officially send out the acceptance notification maximum by the 15th. That's what we are working towards with our topic chairs who are going to do the double blind peer reviews. And once that is done, between August 15th and October 15th, we are not just going to say, okay, we are done, now come back and submit your posters. Our promise here, and why we've started this Global South in AI as a social affinity group or meetup, is we want to help you. If you're not gone to NeurIPS, you've not done posters and paper submissions, then we are going to help you do that. So between August 25th, likely end of August, early September, we are going to host an online version of our first Global South in AI meetup, where we will bring everybody, we will invite everybody whose paper abstract has been accepted. And we will do some collaborative workshops, because we want to find out what works for one region or one language or one group, and see if we can do knowledge sharing, because our promise is to do the knowledge sharing. The second piece is we will run a research 101 poster building workshop as part of it. And it's going to be, our current estimate is like a 3-hour Zoom workshop. And Our host of Weekly Ved, Yash, is going to be running with this. So Pariya is responsible for the website. So as you run into any issues with the website and the submission or anything else, Pariya is going to be your point of contact. In fact, you're going to see more of Pariya as she's going to go help post this in various other groups from where you're going to come find us. So likely you're going to be talking to Pariya about that. Yash is going to be hosting this event online, just like Weekly Wednesday, but it's going to be online for 3 hours of Zoom session, where once your abstract is accepted, we're going to help you build out the poster. We are going to provide and we're going to facilitate some kind of knowledge sharing sessions so that we can build out what is the commonality on it to help enhance global South language models. So that's our hope. And Susanna and I are here to run the whole call for paper, to keep the peer review process. And we have topic chairs, and we can take one more person if you're an expert in language AI and you're passionate about bringing all possible languages to the AI world, and you're not in my network. It's even more better, because I'm trying not to just recruit people from my network, which I always do with IoT Day, trying to take the same approach. If you're passionate, if you've published research, you know the research process, and you're passionate about language models, we would like to invite you to be a topic chair. So talk to me or Susanna. So that's it. And you can actually, if you go through the submission process there, you'll find my contact to communicate with me directly also. So with that, I want to wrap up this topic. Thank you, Pariya, for joining me here. So I want to move forward. We are almost at the 45 minutes mark. I have one more topic that I want to share here at Sudha Live, and then I'm going to wrap up today. So thank you, Pariya, and all of you. I hope you will make a submission to the Global South in AI. It's globalsouthinai.org. And I'll be sharing that in the newsletter and also in the comments. Let me see if anybody has a comment. So thank you, Pariya.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let me go back. The last topic that I wanted to share today is let me check. I'm just checking whether you have a comment here on LinkedIn asking me anything about this. If not, I will come back and check, and I will be happy to answer that. Okay. So I want to get to the final topic. If you remember last week, I was talking about the AI law from EU.
First, I want to say something about theory.
Hold on. Okay. So we had,
since he is a PhD, he is again going to do a PhD.
So this is Divya Dwivedi. She was our guest at Weekly Ved, and we had Tiago. This is Tiago Felipe Avanci from Brazil, and this is Divya Dwivedi, who is a lawyer from the Supreme Court of India, and they both are passionate, so passionate about law, and they're so passionate about AI and technology and how it fits into law. So we brought in Divya to be interviewed by Tiago to help us get started on this topic. And again, this is with a lens talking to technologists, people working in technology industry in various roles, to understand beyond privacy, what does AI mean? But they laid the foundation. It was such a fascinating conversation. I'm going to zoom forward at some random point.
Ethics can be made, they can be inculcated in a person, in a baby when they are born, and they can be taught that. But morality is something which is in our hearts. It does not run by our mind, it runs by our heart. Because at heart, if we feel sad that if we have hit a dog, it will feel the pain. That is what morality is. So sometimes, or most of the times, I see people interchanging these two words, even in technology purview. So when I usually talk to my engineering friends, they're like, why do you always talk about ethics and morality? In terms, when you are talking about AI is something which we are developing to make sure that it reduces the work which humans have to do, because they see it as probably giving a robotic world which will be saving us. Recently, I read a small article where it was said that if robots will not be fighting wars, will you send your children to fight the wars? Till now, we have been doing that, right? So how is it possible that all of a sudden we can give lethal weapons all the priority in the world and we ask them just to move ahead? We cannot, because we don't know how they will retaliate. So giving that fact, uh, I keep on thinking on several subjects, and discussion with Sudha, even with Diego, with everyone is always revolving around all these kind of things. How do they give rise to our rights? How is it that morality, ethics, law, technology, and constitution and politics are connected? We have to see that connect. We have to find that filling gap, that gap which has been there. We have to find a way to fill it. How is it affecting us? EU AI Act, which Sudha was pointing out in her LinkedIn post as well. EU AI Act is something which has been tabled in a way that they want to make sure that AI is being regulated as we have been regulated as humans. That regulation will not work on AI till the time we find a way to connect AI with morality, AI with ethics, AI even with properly developed technology. Are we really sure that we are at the topmost pinnacle of that technology development that has given us that kind of AI that we can run it through any work, that we can actually give it all kind of work? No, we cannot. We still, in law, we are only using it for say contract purposes. It is the way we give it, and we find a edited version. Probably some redundancies are being taken care of, but then this cannot give judgments, not as of now, probably later. So coming back to my basic question which Diego asked about constitution, my concept always will lie that since constitution gives us a fundamental right, maybe someday it will give the same rights to AI, but not right now. So keeping that in mind, the constitutional aspect of understanding any technology is what is very important. And whenever anybody is learning technology, I feel that they should be given some moral science lessons.
Okay. So I want to pause here. I always like to show a little bit of what happened at Weekly Wednesday, because that's a happy place for me. I go there every week and get to hear from various different speakers. I get to ask all my questions and meet my student alums. So thank you, Divya. Thank you, Tiago, Felipe, Avanci, for driving this amazing discussion. So as you saw, Divya set the foundation on what is ethics and morality and how that is important for technologists to even think about it. And Divya is uniquely qualified because she has a computer science engineering degree and then decided that she wanted to focus on gender equality and studied law when gave her bar exam, and then now she's a lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. And then she didn't stop there, and now she's collaborating with Tiago and so many other people. I believe she came and spoke about the Brazilian AI law before it became law when they were reviewing it, and she did sessions. And so she has good knowledge about the law in various different countries and the AI law as it's evolving in multiple places. So coming back to the EU AI law, we barely scratched the surface. Right after the point where I stopped the video, discussion was about Sophie, the AI that was given citizenship in Saudi Arabia. And then there was a discussion about, Centennial AI and the whole Google chatbot discussion on whether an AI became sentient or not. And we barely scratched the surface, so we did not get to EU AI draft yet. And one fascinating thing Divya shared with us is Spain became the first country to create a sandbox for AI law. And for technologists, a sandbox is where you build an app or an idea out, test it out in a small setting before you go live, when you integrate into an API from some company. And what does that mean for lawyers? This is the first time it's a law. You discuss, you evaluate, you test it out before it can become law. And Spain has created the first AI sandbox for EU AI law. And so we're going to continue this discussion. I've never done this before, where we had the same speaker come in. We always feel like, oh my God, we've not done enough and we need to bring this person back again. But both Tiago and Devya Dwivedi agreed to come back next week. So next weekly bed, we're going to continue this discussion. So if you're signed up on weekly bed, which is bit.ly/weekly bed, then you should be, or it's basically on Teachable, Business School of AI on Teachable, you should be able to come back and watch the recording for this. Let me show you, because I just, spoke about a bunch of URLs. I think that's not fair. So I'm going to show that to you. So give me a minute. Where is that? I'm not sharing the screen, guys. Yes, thank you for reminding me that. Okay. So I'm going to Business School of AI. It's easier to remember Business School of AI because that's my online platform for courses. I don't have any courses that I'm giving live, but there are on-demand courses if you want to check out, and there's a lot of free courses also, so you can check that out. But all my other nonprofit projects like Women's Planning, IoT Day, International Women's Day, all of them are listed here. So we will list even the Global South in AI project in here. So like that, Weekly Wednesday is one of my collaborative projects that we do this, right? So you go to businessschoolofai.com and you click on Weekly Wed, and it takes you to Weekly Wed. And if you're signed up here, it's a free sign up. You can get invited to join the Zoom session when we have the speaker series going on. It gives you details of what this is, and then you'll get access to our past recordings. We try to clean it up, so at least a year's worth of weekly recordings of our speaker sessions are in there on a variety of different topics. And so this discussion with Divya Dwivedi and Felipe Avanci from last week, what you saw is there. You can take a look at that and see if that's interesting and come back for next week. And we're also trying to stream this directly to LinkedIn to Business School of AI. So if you join Business School of AI on LinkedIn, you will get the Weekly Wednesday stream show up. And like I'm doing this, that goes to my profile. I'm not sending it from my personal profile because Weekly Wed is much bigger than me. It's hosted by Yashashwini Vishwanath, Yash, and brings in global speakers. And there's a lot more people behind it to make that happen. So it goes to Business School of AI on LinkedIn, or just sign up, come and watch the recording. If you can't join live, that's okay. Come watch the recording. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. Usually I'll share a bunch of jobs. I have so many people I want to congratulate that I think I want to keep a time factor here since we also started late. So we saw the Global South in AI. Call for paper, hope you will contribute, or if you're not totally in that world, go share it with other people. I'll really appreciate it because we want to bring as much diversity as possible. That's our calling in here. And check out the Weekly Wed and come back and watch that. And if the earlier topic I was talking to you about the digital pedestrian and voice AI in the car, or pedestrian intention detection, or any of those, the digital pedestrian interaction with the vehicle is interesting to you, check out the links I shared earlier. And if you have any problem accessing the links, find me. If you are part of my newsletter, you will get this, and I'm going to be sharing a whole bunch of jobs and events that's coming up in this next week. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and hope you all stay safe and have a beautiful weekend and rest of the week. And I'll see you online at Weekly Wed, or else I'll see you back at Sudha Live, or I'll see you online. Okay, bye everybody. Going to stop the stream now. Okay.